Alright, in this video, why doesn't my AR-15 work? Well, we're going to cover the history of this gun and the AK-47, and it's something, how this weapon system came about. Now, this is probably the most popular semi-automatic style rifle in the United States today. Okay, it's an American design and built gun, and it is part of our military history. It is still in service today after, I don't know, 40, almost 50 years, okay? The original guns, where this all come up from, is during World War II, you had the Sten gun, you had the MP40 and all this. And they realized you had to be able to produce serviceable weapons quickly. And during the war, there were 2 or 3 different real inexpensive guns that caught everyone's eye. The first one was the British Sten, which basically was a 9mm submachine gun made from a tube. You didn't really even need a factory. If you had barrels made and you had a machine to bolt, but the rest of it was stampings, and the guns could be assembled in a workshop. All you needed was a welding bench and some rudimentary hand tools, and you can assemble these components and make a gun. How good they are, whatever, some people say they were great. Some guys that used them said they were junk. The Germans had the MP40. Now that was another submachine gun made from stampings. It was relatively simple and inexpensive to make, but you needed expensive machinery, these huge presses and everything to form them sheet metal tubes. It wasn't something that you could do in a workshop in a bombed out building under very primitive or piss poor conditions, okay? The Russians come up with the PPSH-41, okay? And that was something they dreamed up. They say that was, some people say that was the best submachine gun of the war. It had a drum magazine or stick magazines. And again, it was a hunk of sheet metal wrapped around a folded jacket. You put a barrel in there, and you had a rudimentary bolt. You had a bolt with a spring and a stamped housing that went into a wooden stock. Well, then PPSH-43 was just a folding, everything was stamping. And that was where they got to the point where the gun was made all out of metal. And I think it takes 3.5 or 4 hours production time. Now what I mean by that is there isn't a person going to go into a room in 3.5, 4 hours to have a completed gun. Once you set up a station, punch out the sheet metal with one punch, then go and roll and form it, then weld it and everything else. If you went down the line of a factory with pretty basic equipment, but still punch presses and the dies to make the sheet metal receiver, it's not something you can do, quickly with the Dremel tool and files and hammers, okay? But in somewhat of a primitive factory condition, you have to remember people were doing this when things are bombed out. You can crank out, they made 5 million of them, okay? They were reliable, they were simple, cheap, and they worked. That's what the whole mindset was in post-World War II to design the AR-15. Stoner was an Air Force officer, Eugene Stoner, the guy that designed the AR-15 platform. After he got out in the war, he was in the aircraft industry and worked a lot with aircraft aluminum. That's what these receivers are made out of, aircraft-grade aluminum. And he come up with an idea, thinking along the lines of the Sten. Let me design a rifle and a gun. And there were several different things that Armalite was the name of the company. Armalite, and I've seen a semi-automatic shotgun, an Armalite shotgun that was made out of aluminum receiver. I think it had a barrel with a steel liner and a steel bolt in that. And the whole concept was to use inexpensive material that was easy to work with, which is aluminum, which this housing is aluminum. Now the one strange thing about an AR, which everyone forgets, is the barrel is still steel. And how this gun works is even though the upper and lower receiver are aluminum, The bolt carrier and the bolt head are steel. The hammer in this aluminum thing is steel. And the barrel, how this all works, and what confuses the hell out of people, is the barrel is steel. And it's a barrel, and it has, I'm not quite sure the correct nomenclature, but what you do is you screw in on the back end of the barrel, there's a sleeve. And your head space is set, you do your chamber, and from this sleeve that screws in, and it's the locking lug area, you screw that into the back of the barrel, and once the head space is set, with that you sink a pin, and that pin is used to align an upper receiver, the barrel. So how this gun functions is a steel bolt goes in to the steel barrel in that chamber area, locks in there, and when you fire this gun, and that's another thing Stoner liked, instead of using a gas piston, he used direct impingement, which what it means is you drill a hole up here and there's just a tube that comes down, and at the top of the bolt carrier there's a cup and a plug, so that goes in there. So when you fire this, when the bullet hits that hole, a little bit of the gas comes back, hits the top of that bolt carrier. That puts pressure on this thing. And when this comes back, it unlocks in steel the bolt out of the chamber area, and then goes back on a big spring that's down in here. It takes the recoil back and slides it back. It's still a steel gun, but when people seen it was made out of aluminum and the plastic or whatever the early handguards were that were made by the Mattel Corporation, that's where you got the term the Mattel toy. The downfall of all of this is the AR-15. There are several critical points on here where you have to keep the tolerances to within half a thousandths. Center line of the lower receiver, location of the pins for the bolt and everything. There's a lot of close tolerances on this gun. The closer the tolerances are on a gun, the more likely that dirt, debris, or anything at all, obstructions, will make it malfunction. Combined with the fact that Stoner, till the day he died, believed that that direct gas tube thing was the best way to go. It's simple, it's cheap, it makes the gun a lot cheaper, there's no intricate little parts to the machine. You just have a damn tube over a hole, comes back, the gas hits it, and the gun works. Okay, eliminates parts and everything in the design. The only problem is you are depositing carbon buildup inside the receiver, okay? Inside this tight little confined space where everything's working, every time you pull the trigger, more dirt and crap gets down in there. And if you don't clean the gun, okay, and go shoot it again, you just bake this debris, carbon, and stuff on there to where it becomes problematic, to where a high quality weapon like this no longer will function. It's not the quality of the build, it is not the material or nothing. This is probably, it'd be hard to go a little bit more top of the line than with this gun. Okay, this is one of the top makers, but this is the 4th time I had to fix this gun for the guy. Why is that? Well, he'll go out and shoot the hell out of this thing with anything and everything he can get. Steel cased ammo, military ammo, anything, federal, whatever. And when you use that steel case ammo, the thing about that foreign made ammo is that stuff runs dirty. It's good, it works, okay, most of the time. It's not the best quality ammunition, but you can shoot it. It's just you have to clean the gun, okay? And this is the problem I see with everybody. My AR don't work, I'm getting light strikes. I'm getting this, I'm getting that. What it is from the dirt and buildup, okay? Now I ask him, do you clean the gun? He looks at me like confused, you know. Huh? Yeah, clean. I said, no, do you take it apart and clean everything outside? Because if you don't, the gun's not going to function. And he gets it to where it won't. It'll light strike, it'll jam, it won't feed. And I see people at the range with guns, and I mean quality guns. We're not talking generic guns. I mean, everyone's got this attitude, if you get a generic gun, like what an Anderson Lower, and you build a kit. I've never had a problem with the kit, but then again, I clean my guns every time I use them, okay? All these people have all these problems, bring these guns to me. They don't clean the guns. You're supposed to disassemble your gun no matter what it is, a pistol, revolver, whatever, bolt action rifle. Clean the stuff out. Because if you don't, that's where you end up with, I see these people, and I mean quality guns. One guy had a Ruger and he was firing it, it wouldn't function right. And I went over and looked at it. It was some sort of an AR platform that Ruger made. I said, that knob up there, is that to adjust the gas port? Yeah. I said, it looks like you're not getting enough gas. What's it set on? Well, I'm not sure. Move that a notch and see what happens. I mean, this guy's sitting there for a half hour complaining, mumbling. He had like federal ammo, good ammo. He wasn't using steel-cased ammo. And this gun, it's a $1,000 gun or something. It ain't working. He clicked it over. Then he's going to town. Shot off 100 rounds without a problem. Another guy had another brand name gun. I forget what it was. It's probably in the $800-900 range. Wasn't a generic one. I didn't break in. I bought it used. And I said, did you clean it? Yeah, I run a brush down it. I said, no. Did you take it apart and clean it? Huh? And then when the gun was acting funny, I seen them. They had the gun open like this, and they get a can of Rem oil, and they're just spraying Rem oil down inside here. Okay, you're done. You're done. The gun's, that's worse than throwing it in mud. That oil and stuff is going to get in there and gum up with all that black crap inside there. That gun wouldn't shoot for shit. Okay. And so, now we're going to go on to the second part of the video. The problem with this weapon is it's a quality gun. The company that made it's quality people. They're not BS people. Like I said, the guy got this gun for nothing. He won it by luck. He didn't go and drop $2,000 on this thing. A guy that would go and spend $1,800 on this gun, he's going to make sure he maintains and keeps this weapon up, and it would never stop on him. Okay? So now in the second part of the video, and this goes for all AR-15 owners. Okay, this is something I see time and time again. Oh, I got a problem with the gun. I got to break it in. And you don't have to break in nothing. After 10 rounds, in a gun I built, after 10 rounds, once everything settles into action, the gun is broken. Okay, that's another fallacy of the AR-15. The downfall of the design of this gun is it must be taken apart, disassembled, and cleaned each and every time you use it. And also the problem of putting what type of lubricant on the bolt carrier and that, because if you put oil on there or something thick and heavy, which a lot of them CLPs, clean, lube, protect, whatever, that stuff is thick. It's kind of like Ballistasol or Ballistol. That's wonderful crap. I mean, it works. It takes rust out. It lubricates. It puts a nice coating on stuff to where if you were going to lay that onto a gun and put that gun up for a couple years in storage, you wouldn't have to worry about rust or nothing. But the only bad thing about it, it's kind of like got a syrupy consistency. And when you fire a gun inside a gun like this, it's going to collect all the carbon and stuff and get all screwed up in there, That's the problem with the AR-15 rifle system. So now that I've diagnosed the problem in this video, and watch this and pay attention. Okay, don't just look for the quick fix. I explain what the problem is. We're going to pull this guy's rifle apart, and we're going to look at it, and I'll show you exactly what the hell's going on with this here and why he has these problems that he does.